The statistically most likely thing to happen. This isn't exactly something that's appropriate to talk about in public with you. When I had my own place, it was so important for mandated reporters to actually do their jobs on time, quickly, immediately. If I'm renting a place so that I can sit down with all of my evidence in peace and quiet, and it's costing me $600 to do this, then they understand that I literally spent all of them to lie to me, and that is not okay. Somehow magically it's never their fault when they don't come through. What am I hungry for? Garlic buttery pepperoni pizza. I realize that some stuff is cheaper. Bonjour. Alright. Thanks, sir. Ooh. Hot, 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 hot. Hot, hot, hot. Too hot. Thanks, sir. God, that is too friggin' hot. I shouldn't have stuck it in there so long. That'll work. All right. Through all this, what I wanted never mattered. What I needed never mattered. None of that stopped me from doing the right thing, because it's the right thing too. On the bright side, we got this channel calling himself John Ellis, and he was trolling on the last one. Hide user on this channel. What do you know? He's fucking gone. Blam. And with a screenshot, helps time and date stamp it. That way, every one of these can be lined up with the video that I'm speaking in. Woohoo! Statistically, after she turns 18, she's the most likely woman to hit the streets. But she told on her abuser. She's got that stigma from society. It cuts her off now. When she's abused, nobody believes her. Nobody listens to her. They call her mentally ill and tell her she needs to take meds. And people bully her. They tell her she needs therapy. She's got PTSD, but they just scream at her, "You're mentally ill. You're mentally ill. Go fuck yourselves." Statistically, she will likely get into prostitution. Statistically, she is likely to get into more abusive relationships. Statistically, the people who she is abused by will know that she's got that mentally ill tag that they can prey on. Statistically, she's more likely to have to do those things in order to survive. Statistically, she is more likely to have a child as a product of incest, especially if she's from a rural area. That means farm country. That means Hickety-Hickville, places like Tillamook. In places like Tillamook, you are 70% more likely to be a victim of incest than in a city. 70% more likely. You're also a lot more likely to become addicted to alcohol. Statistically, a woman who tells on her abuser, a girl who tells on her abuser, becomes a woman who has no voice. Now, statistically, she doesn't stand a whole lot greater chance of committing suicide than a man, or any at all, matter of fact. But there are key points, late 20s and early 30s. That's a key point for a lot of women. That's because a lot of women start hitting hormonal changes, very severe hormonal changes, and not hormonal changes that they're able to necessarily do anything about because of social stigmas towards people who lie. That's right. That's right. Now, through her entire life, she's been a liar because she tried to turn in her abuser, and she had to do desperate things to try to get attention to the situation. She's more likely to hit the streets and stay on the streets, not by matter of choice. She is more likely to be raped than any other woman in the country because she's homeless. And those services for women are more likely to blow her off over somebody who's faking it, because that somebody who's faking it probably has friends or family who are willing to help. Bloody Mary type facts. How are you, Sean? Speak those facts, Sean. I've been there. Well, I've been shitty. On my channel, there's a lot of recordings over the past few days that show that the city, county, and local governments here don't know what the fuck the laws are. They all got a different idea about it. I need people to speak up and share those videos and help to explain what's going on. Look at the mandated reporter training videos for all these different places. Look it up and then listen to what these officers are telling me. What the DA's office told me. Statistically, a girl who's told on her abuser is a lot more likely to drop out of high school, a lot more likely to get pregnant early on, a lot less likely to have family support because she told on her predators. Also, a lot more likely to have to continue servicing their abuser even after adulthood for things that someone who really loved you and really was family would never ask for such things. When you need $200 so that you don't lose your house, so you don't lose your kid, and you gotta drop your jaw on someone's D. Statistically, though, most of those women do have to go back to their abusers, even in adulthood, their mother or their father, whether or not they're forced to do those things. And I do mean forced, because between that and losing your child, you have no idea what people are willing to do until they hit that situation. Oh, I would never do that. I would have more self-respect than, oh my God, they're taking my kid. Right? You always say this is what you do, and that's what you do, and it would never happen to you. And holy shit, when that happens to you, where do you end up? Statistically, girls who tell on their abusers are a lot more likely to lose in court, lose custody of their children. They're a lot more likely to be gaslighted. They're a lot less likely to have lasting friendships into adulthood, because when you go to your friends and they can't be trusted, then you don't go to your friends anymore. Bloody Mary typed, if I was close, I would try to help you. You don't have to be close. You can call and please just look it up, the Tillamook Health and Human Services, and call them up and ask to talk to Miss, oh my God, it's in one of the videos today. If you listen to it, I did speak with the people in the Department of Health and Human Services. You can click through it until you see me in an office type setting and listen to that a little bit. You'll be able to hear the lady there. It's a pretty long conversation. She says her name in it, and then a couple of the other recordings that I have today. It's not Hatfield. God, I'm trying to remember. Just explain that it's in reference to the situation with Sean Schwartz. Even if you're in a foreign country, that's the great thing about this. I'm an at-risk adult because you've seen the evidence. You can turn it in from anywhere in the world. You don't have to be an American citizen. In some countries, it's illegal to record it, so I recommend paying attention to that. However, one thing that you can do tonight, missing people. You can speak up about the missing people and share a few of them. Also, any of the stuff here that hit real close to home, I'd like you to try to share that on your own channel or on your Facebook. And you don't have to tell people that you've been through it or not tell people that you've been through it. The choice is yours, but try to bring light to it and why victims go back, why they're afraid, why they go through so much. Bloody Mary typed, luckily my abuser was taken out of my life at age 12. Yes, ma'am. For girls, you are more likely to have that happen, but it's not a probability, especially in a rural area. However, there are some places, because of the homeless community and the hatred towards them, homeless girls are more likely to be raped in some places on average 5 times a month. each. And that's just average. When you tell on your abuser as a child, you're more likely to, as a female, when you become an adult, when you're going through your college years, you're homeless. You're not experiencing college, but college boys are horny. And a lot of times those college boys will promise you that they'll help you out. And when you get there, they want to give you some free drugs and some free alcohol, and you wake up in the morning with no panties. Or they're put on funky, or somehow they're put on backwards. Or, you're creeped out by him because he's wanting to push you, to do things that, there was what he promised if you go there, which is a good night's rest. And now he's wanting to force entertainment on you and force food on you and force drinks on you and just keep on pressuring you. He's being way too nice and pushing it too hard. And when you want to leave, he steps in front of the door and you know that you have to be afraid and you might have to perform services. Then, of course, there's the fact that since you're less likely to have family to help, you're going to have to rely on strangers or friends that probably have ulterior motives. But here's the thing, is that the way that you've grown up, you've learned that that's also an accepted and likely payment. You may not have any money, or you need to save your money, or these guys have spent a lot of money and a lot of time to help you, and you hope that none of them have expectations, but when they do, you're screwed. You're more likely to end up paying rent at a stranger's house or a friend's house when you have a child and have him, after just 2 weeks, telling you your money is overextended now and you owe him favors. This is what happens when you tell on your abuser when you're a girl. If you don't tell on your abuser when you're a girl, and you wait until you're an adult, and you don't cut on yourself, the predator still gets away. And you never share your story. And you're passive aggressive after that, not by choice. You just know very well to be afraid. When Dad gets drunk, he's gonna come poke you in the back with something you don't want him to poke you in the back with. Says he just wants to cuddle, but you know that ain't true. Bloody Mary typed, "You're always right, Sean. I think you're actually a genius." Okay, so many geniuses are misunderstood. You're doing a great service with your channel. Well, thank you, Bloody Mary. I need people with actual names that aren't afraid of their names. That aren't afraid of, well, all of you know to be afraid of the same things that I speak about. You're already aware it's happening. That's why you don't speak up. Many of you are too afraid. Many of you have been through it. And many of you, when you went through it, you were alone. When you offer to help somebody else, a lot of times you do intend well. But then when you get frustrated, you yell at them the same way that your predators yelled at you. Or you treat them the way that the people that... You treat them how your mom treated you when you went to her. How she blew you off. Literally made you cut on yourself to try to get help stopping it. Sure, it's illegal, but only if you have a voice. And your mother failed as a voice. And for your friends, you think to yourself, I don't want that happening to them. Same thing that happened to me. I don't want that happening to my friends and loved ones. You intend to speak out, but then you're afraid. So you say that you will, but then you're afraid. You're afraid for the same reasons your friends are. A lot of my friends are cutters, and they use the excuse that they have cuts all over their body, nobody's going to listen to them. Or they say, hey, I was tagged with mentally ill too, so nobody's going to listen to me. I've been discredited, or I don't have enough power, or I don't have a high enough position, or no, many hands make for light work. We work together or we get nothing. I speak up for a lot of victims who would never in a million years speak up for me. I speak up for a lot of victims that promise to speak up for me, and there's a lot of victims who promised to help me when the reality was they had a missing loved one. They knew I was a small enough platform that they might be able to reach me, and they knew that I was a big enough platform that people might be willing to listen or look for their lost loved ones. And that is what this channel is for, but it's also, as many people forget, it's for all the victims. And I'm still being victimized. Bloody Mary typed, yes, I was a cutter. Well, a scratcher. I scratched my whole body till it bled. Yes, ma'am. I knew it was actually a boy in Washington State in a place called Fairfax. You could look it up, Fairfax Mental Hospital. And he tried to erase himself to death. At first he did it on his arms, and then he wasn't allowed to have pencils or erasers. And 2 weeks later, they caught him hoarding pencils that he was trading to other kids, and he had basically made it look like he had a bunch of leeches attached to his body from 30 feet away. But when you get up close, you realize he'd been trying to erase or burn himself to death, and his biggest complaint was that once he gets down past the first layer of skin, the eraser just slips. Makes sense. Bloody Mary typed, until I was in my 40s. Bloody Mary typed, wow, that's sad. Yeah, there's a whole world full of sad. We're not speaking up for each other. We create a voice for ourselves when we speak up for others. We create a place for ourselves when we speak up for others. Whether or not you're the hero to somebody else or not comes down to whether or not you are willing to speak up many times about your own experiences. There's a woman named Michelle Rodriguez. She's one of my heroes, and for a time there, a villain as well, but she was duped into it, and that I can understand. A lot of people say, hey, don't make excuses for your predators. She wasn't trying to be predatory. If you look at the conversations between her and I, she wasn't trying to be predatory. She was trying to be helpful and useful. She ditched me over Darren O'Connor, and Darren O'Connor stabbed her in the back for her loyalty. Loyalty above all else except honor, and Darren O'Connor is not an honorable man. Not to Michelle Rodriguez, not to myself, not to Evan Ravitz. Bloody Mary type, no one ever spoke up for me. You're right. Statistically, that's where most of us are at. Nobody speaks up for us. We're told that we need to self-advocate, or we're told to use our coping skills. You mean after you get raped, you huff and puff and try to cry yourself to sleep and hope he doesn't do it tomorrow night? Or you huff and puff and cry yourself to sleep again? Where you bring your dad beer even though he didn't ask for one, because you know if you give him enough of them, he's going to pass out instead of raping you. A lot of people pretend like I don't know what the hell's going on around me because I'm some sort of schizophrenic nut job who grew up under a rock with manservants and maidservants and no access to the outside world. Land of butterflies and rich parents and, the whole white privilege thing. The the Cleaver family. But no, I grew up with minorities and violent people. I grew up with a bunch of kids that were over medicated. I grew up with a bunch of kids that had been so messed up on sex from their parents that they were molesting other kids in the facilities I was in, myself included. A lot of the people that are on my channel that promised that they were going to help me, the last words from them to me were, well, nobody ever spoke up for me. And how did that make you feel? And why would you want me to feel like that? Why would you want anyone else to feel like that? When you went to your trusted adult and they made you realize you had to be afraid to even open your mouth, that's when you self-harm, because self-harm is not a self-harming behavior. It is always a cry for help, 100% of the time. A lot of the girls who tell on their abusers, they end up developing crushes on, well, somebody who's unattainable just because he's got everything going for him and he's nice. And he's nice. But also, there's not a dime a dozen of those men. And she wants to be loved and to feel loved so much. She just wants him to hold her. Wants him to love her and keep her safe. And she might get infatuated with that guy more than she should. More than most teenage girls. She might get angry and turn into a very, very vicious and hateful person. Because that's a self-defense mechanism. When people start showing you those red flags, those trigger warnings that come from your predators. You guys watch my channel. You see I'm very good at mimicking my predators. I'm very good at making you guys feel exactly how they make me feel. Bloody Mary typed made me feel invisible and unwanted. Yes, ma'am. Bloody Mary typed I ran away after they put me in a mental hospital. Yes, ma'am. There was 2 young women in Boulder, Colorado who disappeared at the same time. Around the same time. There was Sarah Rubiolo, who I helped to find, and when she was finally found, she was glad. She was glad I helped. She invited me to her high school graduation. She introduced me to her mother. She's one of the people that I went to when Natalie Bollinger disappeared to try to help find her. And she was a good friend. Well, a nice friend to have. She talked to me like I was a person, like I was a friend. Not like I was a dick. And not like I was some sexually desirable something or other. A lot of women who were sexually molested growing up, believe it or not, turn into sex addicts. Not so much for the sex itself, but for the brief moments of someone at least cares about you for something. Bloody Mary typed, I was then abused many times by many dirty men. And they are dirty, and you know it. You know they are. For me to see my abusers going down the street, abusers of my friends going down the street, especially when some of those abusers have abused multiple women and they come and tell me about it. And then another one of my friends will start dating him knowing that he's got that history. And then she'll want sympathy like she didn't know 6 months later. Hey, Sean, I need a rescue. And when I rescue her, I don't have the means to take care of her, and she doesn't have a relationship to step into for safety. A lot of women, when they leave a man, they're afraid to do so if they don't have somebody that'll help them to be safe for leaving. That man might do something horrible later in life. The second girl that disappeared was Hannah Pendergrast. I helped to find her too. I spoke to her once after that. She hated me. She might still hate me. What are the chances that she was being abused at home? They're pretty fucking significant. Bloody Mary typed, my first husband abused me in many ways and stole my babies, and now I'm an old woman. Bloody Mary typed, blessed your gentle heart, Sean. You were so easy to talk to. Not always, ma'am. Sometimes you'll notice if I'm not being heard, I make sure that I speak whether I'm heard or not. Obviously, there's a lot of these people that the things that I said to them went in one ear and out the other. You can hear in many of these conversations how they claim I didn't say certain things. And there's also a lot of times where you can hear them talking over the top of me, and you can't quite make out what they're saying, or you can't quite make out what I'm saying. That's because we're having a power struggle at that point. And they know if they speak over that part, they can claim they never heard it. If you're busy talking, you're not busy listening. Um, there's a story on my Facebook. I typed it to a woman named Amy Witcher in Nebraska. She's one of the people who's going to help me after Natalie died. She's actually related to me by blood on the Schwartz side of the family, my dad's side. But because of abuse against her and against her children by her husband, a meth addict and a child abuser, he didn't just abuse her children, he gets fucked up on meth and demands that from her too. But there's a story that I typed to her, and I should probably read that story sometime. It's on my computer, so if I ever get the ability to plug it in and get a lot of stuff out there for you, I'll take the time to stop and read that story as well. I don't know how long that'll be. Bloody Mary typed, oh, I hate that. That happens to me too. Power struggles. Yep. There's also the part where a lot of your friends, they might invite you in and help you out or intend on doing that, but when you get there, they have their own power struggles. I love having a beard. Oh. If there's one thing that I could wish for and have for equality, I'd wish that women could grow beards. There is nothing feels better than tickling your own beard, except somebody else tickling your own beard. Bloody Mary. I miss her. She had so much love to give. The if you love me thing. Bloody Mary typed, I'm sorry about your Natalie. Ha ha, no, thank you. It's probably a bad read. It makes it sound like she's intending something that she's not. Bloody Mary type, you're a good person. Keep that heart. I don't want to be here anymore, though. You know that. I'm trying to take screenshots so that I can show the conversation actually happened. A lot of my predators have capitalized on that. Destruction of revenue. Oh, Bloody Mary type, no thanks about the beard. I didn't say I'd wish for you to have one. I just wish that you could. You know? Yeah, I get you. It's not for everybody. Oh. Natalie asked me not to shave my beard, and I haven't shaved it since. Anyway, when it comes to abuse against at-risk adults, all of us started off as children. Statistically, 80% of us were in foster care growing up. Of those, over 85% of us were highly medicated, over-medicated according to today's laws and standards. And there are several of the medications that I was put on as a child that are now controlled substances according to the FDA. But they started off as legal. Bloody Mary typed, LOL, okay. I like yours though, it's magnificent. Well, thank you. You can thank Natalie for that. You can thank Natalie Bollinger for the fact that I'm not dead. When Natalie came into my life, the day that I learned who she actually was and what her name was and bothered to actually allow her to engage with me as an adult. I was on my way to the bathroom in Starbucks in Boulder, Colorado to kill myself. You can thank Natalie Bollinger for the fact that my brains are not molding underground right now, although I would have died as a hobo, so they would have taken me to the crematorium and incinerated my body and maybe put it in a styrofoam or cardboard urn. But, I mean, really, just... we're the modern Jews. Would you expect anything less? Ashes to ashes, right? I need people to speak up. Bloody Mary, you could speak up. Instead of letting them pretend like I'm making this shit up. I grew up in hell. I don't mean the literal hell. I mean just hell on earth. The worst of the worst. You know who's attracted to facilities that have the worst of the worst children in them? The worst of the worst predators. Some of them can rape literally hundreds of children that are called mentally ill, and you pick the ones that you know are too afraid. Our predators seek positions of power that they know they can get away with harming us. The nursing professional, how's that? Police officers professional, how's that? Mary typed, OMG, no, don't ever do that. The world would be worse without you in it. You speak up for people. Bloody Mary also typed, my best friend was Jewish and he had a heart attack in his sleep. I miss him. Bloody Mary, I'm jealous of him. The reason I speak up on YouTube and Facebook is two parts. It's self-advocacy, and the only way I'm able to. It's also documentation of the events and documentation of the reality of being scared shitless as an autistic homeless male, that you'll be victimized for being an autistic homeless male, and nobody will ever care enough to speak up and to keep speaking up. That nobody will ever speak up, especially not at the start. And if they're not there to speak up at the start, it's a lot tougher battle. It's a lot taller hill to climb. It's a lot steeper a hill to climb. You can consider it like a garbage pile. There's just a little bit of garbage. You gotta walk across the field. Once you get to the other side, everything's fine. You know that people are dumping it there because it's dumped now, and you know that that's the only way through to the other side. Then the first dump truck comes in and dumps the load, and there's still a lot of space around. You can walk over it. By 60 or 70 dump trucks, you got to climb over a lot of garbage. You got to climb over a pile of garbage that's 20 feet high. Meanwhile, the garbage is going to be slipping and sliding under your feet. It's not like climbing over a garbage pile is a simple task. If you've ever worked a dump, you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna try to end this now. Well, I want to say thank you to Bloody Mary for taking the time to be a part of this conversation. Bloody Mary typed, your analogies are very interesting. Well, I would hope they are, or they're carefully crafted. A lot of them, I try to explain the best I can with an analogy that fits properly, but a lot of times people, they take my analogies as threats. They also take my sarcasm as threats. I assure you, if I'm threatening you, you will know. And that is not a threat. Bloody Mary typed, bless you, friend. Yes, ma'am. You know, when Jamie was trying to pretend like she was interested in me, well, she would try to hit on me really, 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 really heavy and hardcore while she was drunk. And then when she was sober, she would call me friend. When she'd get drunk and try to hit on me, I'd tell her, if I'm not good enough for you when you're sober, you can't have me when you're drunk. So she just ended up getting drunk elsewhere and having sex with other people when she was drunk. She said she was glad that I didn't take advantage of her like that, because she does think it's taking advantage of somebody, and she does consider it rape. And then she went out and put herself literally in situations where she would become promiscuous, not because these men are rapists, but because what she did was get drunk with a bunch of people who were getting drunk and engage in not very good fucking thinking because they were all drunk. And after getting laid, she'd say, well, she had a good time and she didn't consider it rape. And I'm like, oh my God. She's like, well, you know, I was drunk and I was initiating it and I enjoyed myself. I'm like, this isn't something I want to hear. All right, so I'm going to take a final screenshot of Miss Bloody Mary. I know that's not a real name, but it doesn't have to be. Her experiences do mean something, and I want to thank her for joining this conversation. You know, there's a lot of horrible things in this world. And they become a lot less horrible when you've got someone who loves you. When you end up digging yourself a hole or falling into a hole that somebody else dug for you, it's nice to have a friend to help pull you out. When you're being bullied by somebody bigger than you, it's nice to have somebody there to say, hey, you need to stop before it gets out of hand. You know how we end these videos. Good to be rid of you. Thank you for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, because he's the most likely to commit suicide. And you are your sister's keeper too, because she will slice herself to ribbons to get some sense of positive attention from you. Why do we ignore the positive things and praise so little on those? But we are so quick to condemn and to push that condemnation for all eternity. Mary type, Bloody Mary typed, I'll come back. I enjoy listening to the truth. You're well spoken with lots of understanding. Apparently you've missed about half of my videos, because I try to make sorry about that. I try to make two versions of each type of video. One where I try to talk calmly and collectively, and another one where I give you guys the sheer emotion of all of it. All of the stuff that's pushed onto me, I project it onto you. Well, the emotional understanding of it anyway. Yes, I can scare you with my screaming and my yelling and shouting. Yes, that is scary. It is intimidating. And that's why when people do that stuff to me, I give you guys an example. I let you know what it's like. This is what people do to me. Bloody Mary typed ADHD. Not so much. Only if I'm in a state of crisis. If I'm in a healthy environment, then my brain works par excellence. I was diagnosed with ADHD as a kid, but I grew out of it. I didn't grow out of my restless leg syndrome, though. Bloody Mary typed, you're a beautiful human being. Well, thank you. Kim Jepson is a beautiful human being. Natalie Bollinger was a beautiful human being. Stephen McMillian was a beautiful human being. All of them were flawed, though. And I don't choose to pretend that they were perfect. Natalie Bollinger's dead, but she was a wonderful human being. She was the most wonderful person I ever knew. She had a really good intuition about things. Well, about people anyway. But she also tended to listen to her sister, which is where most of the trouble she got into came from. Natalie wanted her sister to love her, and if she did everything her sister wanted, and gave up everything that she had and let her sister have everything, including the boys they both fought over. There's always a popularity contest between the two of them. Bloody Mary type, good night, sweet man. I'm an asshole, but thank you. Also, no victim left behind. Please speak up for the other victims. If you won't speak up for me, please speak up for others. I get that as a female, you are more likely to identify with the story that I was just explaining than with mine, but understand that mine is not very much different. I was raped in the system because my parents' sin wasn't lust, it was cocaine.